Hey everybody, it's Brian here from quantlabs.net. We've got everybody here for the machine learning. Is it working or not working for profit? Okay, so tonight, what I got here.
Waiting to screen.
What's that?
It says it's waiting to view Brian.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it'd help if you guys could see my screen, wouldn't it?
I'm just refreshing it now.
There you go. Can you see the screen now?
No, not yet.
Can you guys see the screen?
It's waiting to view organizer screen and there it is. Now I can see it.
Yeah, awesome. You guys can see it, no problem? Everybody else
I
can see it?
now.
Okay, I'm going to assume everyone else can see it. Okay. So what I got here is, let me just put that back to one page. Okay, so what I thought we'd start out with is the doubts and the cons on machine learning. But a good chunk of this will focus on the pros and possibilities of machine learning. So let's get the negatives out of the way. All right, so what started this were two big events of the last 4 years. Let's first talk about the ones from Ernie Chan. Let me see here. Okay, so for those that have never seen Ernie Chan's blog, there's this story here he posted. This is a few years ago, okay, but I have talked to him in the last 3-4 months on it, and there's some notable quotes in this posting. From Ernie, he said, there's some pitfalls in backtesting the strategy with machine learning, renders 60% accuracy is quite meaningless, look ahead in this research, the only way to replicate the results. Another comment he made was, with PCA, he was never able to find a profitable pursuit with that. Another notable quote for machine learning was from Elon Musk. I said the artificial intelligence will be summoning the demon. So there's those. And there was this. This is a closer to home kind of report. I don't know if you guys know, how many of you guys know Jonathan Kinley? Give me a yes or a no, or just speak out a yes or a no. Apparently he's a notorious guy who's done machine learning. So there's Dr. Jonathan Kinley. He had one of my guys, Dan Rico, here in Toronto. He's a good friend of mine who's part of this. Now, the notable here in this research paper is, just looking for the conclusion. Where was the conclusion? Let me find it. Here we are. Overall, research does not corroborate the results reported by other studies. We find no evidence that SVM techniques enjoy any advantages over traditional methods of forecasting market direction. Furthermore, none of the common technical indicators tested in the study able to add predictive power to models based on historical data alone. Okay, who's got comments on that? Those statements. One from Dr. Ernie Chan, and from this guy, Jonathan Kinley. Anybody believe these sort of statements saying that machine learning doesn't work? Let me know.
Maybe it hasn't.
It hasn't.
Brian, send you something.
Yeah, go ahead.
I used Eureka, built a system out with a seed from going through open high-low flow data, and it worked. It made money. However, the drawdown was bigger than the actual system made over time.
Okay.
So Eureka is a system where you pump data into it, and it backs out the calculation right, for the data. It's 100% machine learning.
Yeah.
And I thought I was on for something fantastic a long time ago, but I just pulled up the system I ran it on, which is just on E-mini, right? And the system made say $3,000. It had a $5,000 drawdown during the period.
Right.
So your Sharpie ratio is pretty low.
Yeah, well, basically the problem with machine learning that I've always found is the fact it will make something work. However, it doesn't take into consideration the drawdown the market actually does on the security.
Okay.
So you need a money match.
Yeah.
You could program that into your algorithm to be, yeah,
Well,
rules.
basically, the feed that I took out, what the calculation gave me was a feed, like a number, right backed out, and then gave me, 2 other seeds, and I plugged that into my formula, and just did a buy if it's greater than this, and sell if it's greater than that, and it worked. But then, of course, it did the drawdown, which ended up being bigger than what the actual performance was.
Yeah,
That's why I don't believe in machine learning.
I agree with that, because that's exactly how Ernie states it. It's that it can not consistently win all the time.
That is correct.
But here Mike said that we've talked about this with Gigi before. He's pretty knowledgeable on this. He says that I don't think the problem is the machine learning, but the lack of people really know how to use machine learning, and he's right. And Steve says most systems don't consistently win either, so he's chiming in on that too. But I mean, that's what people are saying is if you don't know how to build these systems and have the proper principles, that's probably where the root cause is.
Well, the other thing, Brian, I want to just interject if I may.
Yeah, of course.
I have a friend who's using Watson's computer, the one that IBM created in that chess challenge, right?
Yeah.
He bought some of the rights to use that on stock. Okay? And what actually happened was he built some strategies out of that, right?
Yeah.
But he found that even though he was using Watson to tell the stock is good or not, right? He had to use also how much the stock was short in the market, a whole bunch of fundamentals, about 4 or 5 other things he had to use before he could recommend that out to a client. So again, it proves that 100% machine learning didn't work in stocks.
Yeah, I lean towards that. And here's the thing that Christian says, in my opinion, problems with machine learning is that most forms of it outside of Watson assume a non-stochastic process. The market is stochastic in his opinion. I think we're going to get a lot chiming in here. AI is part art and science. It really depends on the question you put to the system to answer. Okay, so let's put a vote out. I mean, we've got, how many people? 21 right now. How many believe machine learning actually works? Just give me a yes or no. Yes. And we're talking on a consistent basis. I'm just trying to see if it's in the minority. Yes. Okay. It can work. Shalom. Okay. That's probably 5 that I'm seeing so far. 6.5, let's say. Okay. So, how many would you say no? Okay, it needs to be dynamic. Okay, I agree with that, meaning self-adapting. I think there was another, you have to show the system the data needed to answer the questions to put it out. So is it safe to say that majority of people have doubts on it? Because I'm only counting up maybe a third of the audience might believe in it. So let's see how many non-believers are. Whole system needs to be dynamic. Okay, how many say no? Just type in no, that you're absolute for sure certain it doesn't work on a consistent basis. Just type away a no. Okay, Jeff says no. Looks like LQ's arrived. Okay, Jeff says no. Anybody else is a definite no on machine learning. Easy to make a non-working system. Okay. Anybody else? Works 200%. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute, Dave. Looks like maybe the majority say no, or maybe there's a lot of questionable on that. So Patrick says he has no experience in the field. Okay. So we've already addressed what Ernie Chan says, what this other guy, my guy, Dan Rico says. Let's see where we're going. Okay, so on Friday, I don't know if people saw this headline. Steve Ballmer says that machine learning will be the next era of computer science. How many would agree with that statement? Yeah. Yes.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, what's the statement again?
Right in front of your screen, Shalom. Steve Ballmer.
Okay.
Beyond trading, okay. If human works, then application ML has previously stated. Absolutely. Okay.
I have too many windows up.
Mac users.
We will be the next area. Well, machine learning is a branch of artificial intelligence. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Patrick says maybe not for trading. I know. I think LQ just arrived. He believes in it from a other application uses. All right. So I don't know if anybody saw this video here. I just was introduced to this guy on Saturday. I put the link in. He's got a little video on here using F# with machine learning. And if you watch this video, you'd be absolutely stunned on the capabilities of machine learning. It's pretty phenomenal. Not just, obviously focusing on with F#. I mean, there's other tools we can talk about for machine learning, but let's talk about what. Go ahead.
Talk about regression and stuff like that. I watched it today.
Yeah, what you think of it, Jeff?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It uses a bit of Python and C++ and also F. It's quite a good presentation. However, again, it's doing regression, and as we all know, regressions can stay regressed for a while before they bounce. So
right.
Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I need to stress that I'm a beginner in all this. I really know nothing about machine learning. I guess, Steve just chimed in here. My opinion, why machine learning does not work, because traders accept the machine to come up with an answer which always works. The more likely truth is more like the African watering hole, which attracts both the winners. Algo which works best is also the watering hole without predators. Also, most people think the more data, the better the prediction. Too much data, the noise will be learned and swamp the relevant information. So ML must be used very judiciously as another tool, nowhere near a whole answer. So my opinion is yes, but. LQ just chimed in. LQ, if you can talk, my friend. That's a pretty accurate statement from Steve. Anybody agree with that? Where it's like a gun where if it's not used right, it can be a dangerous weapon. Anybody want to chime in there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think what's going on is a lot of people who try to deploy these or create these machine learning algorithms know programming, but don't necessarily know statistics all that well or understand financial markets or trading.
Well, here, go ahead.
Yeah, but they don't really understand trading, so they implement strategies that don't work. And the best algorithm,
Go ahead.
the best algorithm's not going to help you if your strategy's crap.
Here we got London Quant. He's just chimed in here as well, and he's probably the most experienced of all. Machine learning works, but unless you have experience, you would end up using third-party libraries without understanding WTF. Where's the fire you are doing? People cannot blame machine learning when their system doesn't work. Voila, there you go. Machine learning works if your objectives are clear-cut. And he also said people should first take a serious class in mathematics before trying to use ML. Yes?
So it's more like machine learning works. It's you're not working. That's
exactly. And he's saying that you got to understand the code and all the hand coding here. So decision trees are just basic programming logic, though. So what's the difference between loops and try-catch switches? If a good system, use ML to make it better. Okay, a lot of people chime in here. Decision trees is general logic. It comes down to which technique you are using. Yeah, I want to cover some of the basic ones so far. So far, this is good. Let me bring up the next topic here. So there was this question on Quora about can you use machine learning and which hedge funds are using it. So I pulled it up, and here we are. 2 Sigma, PDT Partners, DE Shaw, DRW Trading Group all use it at this organization called the NIPS, Neural Information Processing Systems. And we got obviously Microsoft Research, Google, Amazon, Facebook. Here's PDT Partners, DE Shaw, so on and so forth. Anybody got any opinions on that? Because if these companies are using it, these hedge funds, and especially D.E. Shaw, that's got to say something in itself. But obviously they're using...
Well, it's get and then think about trade.
Go, continue, Jeff. Go ahead, Jeff.
Now, most of these guys just get signal and then check it before they actually do the trade, right? It's more to get the analysis they want in front of them first,
right,
before they pull the trigger.
Okay.
And another thing is machine learning is only one of the things they're using to generate alpha. There's lots of other things they use as well. So it's just one tool.
Well, let's talk about what you're referring to, Shalom.
Well, they have a risk management system. They have a good strategy. They know what markets to target. They have a qualitative overlay that goes with their quantitative algorithm. They have a risk macro overlay. They have a lot of other things that they deploy as well. It's not like they just let machine learning algorithms loose and that's it.
Right. Anybody else? Go ahead.
There's a lot of human judgment as to when to turn them on and turn them off as well, I think.
Okay, I'm just going to read off some people watching this video. Consider trading systems, this is from Steven. Consider trading systems to be an insect. It is taught to gather food in range it may eat with buy limits and sell limits. Well, blah, 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 blah. I think, okay, here's LQ, ID3, C4, C5 hybrid variants. This is where it's way out of my league. There are plenty with different results each. They have finances to give it a strong effect. The hedge funds are also hire people who are professionals with experience in ML. Of course, we know that. And Ryan says if somebody uses ML and is successful, people will work them and then their systems won't work anymore. Yes. Okay, Jeff added. So we know that you need to be specially trained, but then the question comes down to data scientists, which again was mentioned in this video, where in San Francisco, it's the hot topic now. No, it's no longer big data, it's data science. So these guys who are programmers don't have the proper training in machine learning, but they call themselves data scientists and they're doing machine learning. And the question comes back to, will they be profitable?
It's big in San Francisco at the moment.
Well, if you watch this video, it says, if you can verify this, Jeff, that you have a meetup that does a machine learning and you get 200-300 people come out to it.
That is correct. There's a topic on it about every couple of weeks here. I agree with you.
And what about out of that, how many of them would be applicable to finance?
Look, I haven't seen, I've been to one of them and there wasn't many finance people there. They're mostly from other organisations like Google and LinkedIn, those sort of people.
So,
Facebook, you know.
Okay. So Jeff says, machine learning is defined as the field of study that defines computers' the ability without learning, without being explicitly programmed. I don't know. I'm sure LQ may have a response on that one. Wow, that's quite a good conversation here. I appreciate it to everybody thus far. So the next question is, what do we do about this, or what should the average Joe person be doing in terms of understanding machine learning? And anybody out there that's successful with it, what should they do to educate themselves in a better way to say that they're going to be consistently profit with so-called quote-unquote machine learning? Anybody got any tips? It's basically what I'm looking for. Find out what drives the market in question. Yeah, that's a pretty general statement though, Steve. Problem is with machine learning is the same as other black box trading. The market changes, and so with the machine learning has to change. LQ says the average Joe shouldn't expect to use ML to be successful in trading. And yes, Mike. Sorry, I cut somebody off. Who wanted to say something? Sorry about that. Go ahead. Anybody?
Yeah, it's Jeff in San Fran.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
The web approach research that I've seen is most of the systems out there that are successful in trading are either trend following, which is taking big drawdowns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that machine learning can be used for is mean reversion or reversion strategy, right?
Yeah.
Things like the pattern recognition stuff that I use, right, which is either multi-fracture patterns, volatility patterns, signal noise patterns, and fail patterns, right?
Yeah.
Are really the only type proprietary systems out there.
Okay. Dave says average Joe needs to know what variables are important in their research. Mike said LQ responded to this with yes. LQ says he doesn't like machine learning black boxes, though, more logical loops like decision trees and genetic programming. And they can use machine learning to help discover those parameters. Anybody else want to chime in so far? So LQ comes back with, LQ, I don't know if you can speak or not. Nowadays, when most startup firms are referring to ML, they are referring primarily to regression trees, regression forests, decision trees, Bayesian learning, etc. Yeah, that's the more advanced mathy stuff. Go ahead, Jeff.
That's probably what they do. It's in the regression side. Most of their machine learning activities being, right?
Yeah.
Some machine learning can go and find some pattern recognition, right? To find what is a pattern, right?
Yeah.
But as I say, it can be really used to find the pattern. Then you really got to use a walk forward approach, right, in your system. But again, look, most of these programs, they just find an answer. But the one I picked, which was using Eureka, which took a data sample and transferred into a calculation, right?
Yeah.
Worked, but had big drawdowns. And most people can't stomach the system drawing down more than what they've actually made.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest.
Right. Well, it's not. Go ahead, Jeff.
The now to the market, the market always has sort of a theme go through that if you're a trader like me for many, many years, you might write a system sometime,
Right.
There's certain going on.
Right. Okay, so we got some more comments here. Dave says his choice is genetic programming. LQ says applying ML on time series is far trickier. Ryan asks, how would you apply genetic programming to the market? I can answer that in a minute. Also, time of day, a week of data. Are you open or in the slower times of the day? LQ, do you make your set of technical analysis or linear regression, or do you feed the system with raw price data? I'm not sure. We got a bunch of dogs. If somebody can self-mute themselves from that, thanks, man. Oh no, dogs are still going. Because we try to keep this open. Okay, thanks. We got some discussion here. Trying to keep up with it. I don't know. Can you speak, Mike? Yeah. So we got here time of day. LQ, do you make use of technical analysis or do you feed the system with raw price? It's pretty hard to keep up with this discussion. I know LQ is really experienced here. Plus, most people have no clue on how to clean data. Stephen Perot, read LQ's book, Handbook to Neuro Evolution with Erlang to see the future of ML, more broadly AI. Train dogs to trade. That's funny. Fetch. Okay, let's move on to the next topics. I can go on here in the chat box. Okay, so we've gone over the doubts and some of the other areas. I don't know how many people are actually using F# here because there's some really cool stuff happening in the world of F#. We haven't really specifically talked about the tools. I know LQ says that we shouldn't be using third-party libraries and tools here. I agree with that, but a lot of people still do. So let's just give that a little bit. How many use what for machine learning? What kind of languages are we dealing with here? Like Python, F#, MATLAB, R, C++, C. Just give me the kind of tools that you guys, SAS, okay. Okay, I got SAS, Java, C#, Python. Okay, we got a bunch of topics happening in the chat. It's going to be hard to keep track of. Okay, Python, okay. All right, so I guess but how? Let me ask you about Python. How far along is Python for machine learning? Are you guys pretty happy with it in terms of the package that are available?
I use Python, as I said before, with C++, and after watching the F stuff as well, I might incorporate F.
Okay. I mean, how are you finding though with Python for machine learning? Is it fairly a solid language to develop from? Because I've heard various stories that it can be.
Yeah, look, I use it. I've also used things like Matplotlib and different things in it, right? But then I get stuck sometimes and I want to do something faster. I go to C++, but interesting listening to the video today that you posted up there. They were using bits of Python, they were using bits of C++, they were using bits of F, right?
Yeah.
They're all together basically the same thing. Python's obviously object language. The F is more the structured language.
Right. Do you have a link to that video, Jeff?
No, it was the one you posted up on your message the other day.
Okay. Okay. All right. Because we got LQ here, and he's giving out some juicy tips. He's pretty good. Can you talk about how your bike on the signal? We could have always LQ do his presentation. He's pretty good at what he does. Any languages that can handle vectorization, parallel programming. For you, Jeff, yeah, F Sharp's a good one. I've got a link on that. Let me just get through these topics here. Okay, so we talked about some of the tools. Who's doing unsupervised machine learning at all right now? Or has anyone tried unsupervised? Where you let the data...
I did, but drawdowns.
Drawdowns, okay. And anybody else outside of Jeff? So Daniel says a work in progress here. Okay. All right, so this package here that I've looked at for unsupervised, the MATLAB system identifications can be pretty good for that. Where you feed it in data and it'll bring back your algorithm using 6 different methodologies. Let me pull that up. This one right here. It's pretty advanced since they brought it out, so I just thought I'd put that out there. Anybody ever use anything like this? The system identification is using ARMA ARX. Half of this I'm no expert in by any means, but I'm just putting it out there. Pretty advanced, I've seen it. So nobody's doing anything unsupervised, meaning the data defines the model.
Yeah, the data, you pump it through Eureka, it just comes back with the formula.
Yeah. Okay, Mike says, I thought wavelets are overfit LQ, so you like more PCA. I have in the past. Wavelets do not overfit. How can you use wave when they are non-casual? Boy, oh boy, there's a lot of conversation here. Okay, let me think here. So we've covered MATLAB system identification. We've covered the F Sharp from my end. Just trying to think. We've talked about the different hedge funds using it. Why don't we open it up for questions now? Because it looks like there's a lot of conversations here going on in the chat box. I can always unmute whoever wants to talk. LQ's online right now. Sounds like he's answering a bunch of questions as well. I'm not sure if he's able to talk to sort of like bring it into one conversation. Anybody got any questions?
Chat, Ryan.
What's that?
It's an important chat. Make sure to save all the messages.
Yeah. I will try my best. Anybody else got any generic questions? Because I know if you can speak, it might be better because we got, like I said, 2 conversations here. Can you explain how you would apply genetic programming to the stock market? Okay, Ron, yeah, you did ask that. Okay. I don't know what tool you're using. I know MATLAB, for me, there's, I keep referring back to this, there's the MATLAB algo trading webinar. This particular one covers that. Let me just get the URL here. I'm going to put that in the chat box. So hopefully that may be useful for whoever.
Hello, and welcome to the webinar.
Yeah, you can learn some cool stuff in that one. Okay, so okay, I'm gonna leave that LQ conversation going on. The easiest way, most flexible, would be to use Lisp dialect to generate. Okay, I'm missing out on this one from Steve. You could have a two-prompted approach where.
Titled Algorithmic Trading with MATLAB.
Oh, sorry. Let me just.
My name is Stuart Zalola, and I'm the product manager in our finance area.
Okay. Part of Germanic is that you get hit into the dead ends and need to prune. Asking specifically about wavelet tails changing. Oh, this is way too advanced for me. Brian, I think he is referring to genetic programming, not genetic algorithms. Yes, I agree, Mr. LQ. Is there any actual having a strong strategy based on ML? What is the performance and what market frequency? That's from Ad. Anybody want to answer that via voice before going to the next question? Again, the question from AD, is anyone actually having a strategy based on ML? What is the performances and what markets / frequency are there? I think we kind of cover that in a generic way where we kind of came to the consensus that it cannot consistently win. Let's move on to the next question. Can I talk about my experience in GP? Christian, of course, let's open it up. Are you, let me just check to see if you can talk. Christian, we're more honored. Christian, go ahead. You're unmuted. Can you go ahead, Christian?
Did I just talk?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just talk.
Yeah, go ahead, Christian. You're there. Go ahead, Christian.
Can I talk?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
We hear you.
Go ahead. We're waiting for
Okay,
you.
very good. I just wanted to talk a little bit about my genetic programming experiences. I think the first question that actually was asked is, what do you actually generate? The reason why I actually said a Lisp tree is because for most of you who are programmers, a Lisp tree is a straight hierarchical tree. If you try to generate anything more complex than a hierarchical tree, you're going to run into a lot of dead ends. As the model keeps going through and it sits there and it tries to find an ideal algorithm, it actually generates dead ends. It generates pieces of algorithm which actually all they do is confuse the system, but it's sort of like, think about this, 1 + 1 is equal to 2. But guess what? 3 minus 1 plus 1 minus 1 is 2 as well. So you get all of these extraneous things in there. So you also constantly have to sit there and start pruning that tree. And the only way you can do that easily is if you implement a Lisp dialect, because with a Lisp dialect, you can also sit there and add extra functions in. So for example, let's say you want an extra function to calculate some whatever technical number based on this, then you can actually add it in. And the second question was, what do you use as an optimization function? That's really, really difficult. And the reason being is, it doesn't matter whichever optimization function you'll use, the system will optimize it such that it actually works best with that optimization. So for example, you have all this discussion about the Sharpe ratio, and then somebody comes in, ooh, we don't want the Sharpe ratio, we sit there and use that ratio, and then we use that ratio. Sorry, but the fundamental problem you're doing is you're trying to reduce the quality of a strategy down to a signal parameter, and that just does not work. There's a lot of work. No, you don't prune manually. You actually use the system. Okay, hashing the nodes. Okay, fair enough. I didn't use that. I used something else. I actually used a system on top of it that would actually go through and then try to optimize things. That's just what I want to say.
Okay. Anybody else want to add to that? Thanks a lot for your input, man. Really appreciate that. Anybody else got any opinion on that? Oh, here we go. We got a show coming up.
The king of the jungle takes it.
Haha. Thanks. But if you hash the nodes, you will avoid adding nodes on the first place that may collide. Again, from...
Wait. Actually,
Go ahead, go, keep going. Go
Actually,
ahead.
here's the problem. You can't sit there and stop the system from doing that. This is actually the problem that I ran into is when you're doing genetic algorithms, sometimes you actually have to let the algorithm beat around the bush a bit. And then once it beats around the bush, then you got to sit there and say, well, wait a minute, you've just beat around the bush. You've gotten here. Because otherwise, you know the min-max problem, right? You're going to sit there and start going into a place, because let's be, LQ, you and I know that the domain space has so many mins and max that it just gets complicated.
Okay, there you go. Also depends on what kind of algo you are using for evolutionary programming. That's what he's saying. Genetic programming, Cartesian.
No, this is genetic programming. I'm not talking about any of the other optimizations or any of the other searching. This is pure genetic programming, using plain vanilla randoms, whatever, and just regular genetic pruning. The genetic tree buildup.
Genetic programming is a tree-based. That's what he says.
Yes, absolutely.
Dave wants to chime in. Do you want to talk, Dave? Go ahead. Cartesian CEP me are linear. Dave?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
I kind of feel like to answer your question about optimizing how genetic algorithms or programs work themselves, I mean, there's been so much research done in the field, and there's huge libraries that are written in both Java and C#, with really, really good books that complement those libraries that sort of discuss, the caveats and the pros to each and every approach to different algorithms within genetic programming, that I kind of feel like, those types of problems are sometimes best left to the people who have PhDs and all they do is solve those problems. But, we as traders or we as software developers have the ability to basically start off with something basic, and I think basic can get you to a reasonable place, and once you get to that spot, you can kind of move forward and then start doing your own research, digging a little bit deeper, and start worrying about the things that might take away or increase the productivity of your algorithm. But I think that there's a lot of good bases out there that are basically freely available to anyone to use without having to write them completely from scratch.
We get that, but I think the argument though is that, as Christian was saying, there's just so many exogenous factors that can throw those algorithms off.
Absolutely.
For sure there is, and that's where a lot of it comes. You can't take lead and expect gold to come out of it. A lot of it has to come from understanding your data, knowing your regimes, knowing where your algorithm might go wrong. Because the bottom line too is that if you start mixing your regimes, rather than finding an optimal solution, you're going to get an average solution. Whereas if you train your algorithm for very specific behavior, which means that there's very clear signals within the data that you're providing it, then you're going to get a much better result than you would if you're trading, across so many years type thing. So
I would totally agree with that.
But can you consistently, I guess the argument would then be, can you consistently win with what you just stated though?
Well, one of the big keys is knowing when to shut your algorithm on or off. And how to shut your algorithm on or off correctly isn't necessarily defined by your program that you're using machine learning for. I think that's better defined by your own research and your own analysis and understanding your market. I can take an algorithm that I've created that works on a very, very specific behavior. And I know that it won't function properly on other behaviors, but there's a very specific reason for that. And because of that in place, I basically have other controls which basically shut it off when those times arise. The key point is not sort of being too lagged between the time that your algorithm is going to work and the time that your algorithm is going to stop working. You should expect to lose money during that transition phase, but the goal for me at least is trying to minimize the amount of money that's lost when you're going through those regime changes.
So I guess it sounds like obviously you're basing your knowledge on experience in real life trading, and I'm assuming you've consistently been profitable with that. On pure machine learning.
For this particular strategy, yeah, definitely.
But it's only on for certain times of the day or certain, as you say, certain conditions.
It only works in certain conditions. And the goal of it is to basically make sure that when those conditions exist, that it does, the machine's job was to ensure that it does the best that it can possibly do during those times.
So based upon when you do the forecasting to see if those conditions are coming down the pipes, what are the percentages of it calculating that risk is coming on and then it shuts itself down? Like, is that a pretty well winning consistency?
It's very consistent.
Okay.
Anybody? I mean, like if we want to talk about objective numbers, I mean the win rate is around 73% for this year. So. Okay.
Sounds like you got yourself a winner then, obviously. I don't know. Maybe people might have some questions on it. I don't know if we've got so many things.
Well, I mean, we don't need to go into details of it, but right. I guess my point is like, one thing that London Quant brought up, an interesting point in the chat was, he said that the key is how do you isolate signals, and a lot of people don't necessarily know how to do that. And I can say that in my experience for this particular system, isolating that's important. Whether or not there's a general way to do that, I mean, that's kind of, that's new territory for me. So, I mean, I personally, I think that, you were mentioning before that, what type of technology you can use. I mean, there's many different ways to approach any of this, right?
Right, of course. Yeah.
But I think that, the basis is understanding your data, understanding your regimes, and I mean, I would like to hear how London Quant cleans his data, because I think that understanding that would probably be beneficial to everyone. I don't know if he can disclose that or not, but I mean, I definitely know that based on my experience, that being able to provide your machine with clean, sensible data is extremely important. Otherwise, it just tries to make sense of noise, which doesn't work.
Well, he said here, one of the easiest ways to use decision trees on top of your GP models and first generate the GP models. I'm not sure if that's all that helpful. I'm sure that will have to be helpful, yeah. Like I said, I'm not an expert in any of this. Plus said that...
Well, I think maybe what he's saying is that with a GP model, that's probably, I guess, I don't know, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, but with the tree model, it's a very easy way of seeing how your data might naturally break down and cluster, and maybe he's using that to initially break down his data before choosing the subsets to train on it. So,
anybody or Mr. LQ might have a response? Okay, and Christian says keep things simple. LQ wavelets to isolate the noise up to a threshold. I think that's another topic with Mike. I don't know if you want to answer that with what Dave just said. So you don't end up training a model with high volume noise.
Yeah, one thing that I never understood about wavelets was that if you use a wavelet, it assumes that your time series goes on forever, which obviously isn't true. So how do you use a wavelet when the ends of the wavelet can change from a day-to-day basis.
I'm not sure if Mr. LQ would be able to answer that. Anybody else?
I'm going to shut up now. So I don't want to take over your webinar. So
No, it's okay,
if you
man.
have
Thanks.
questions for me, that's fine. But I just wanted to kind of share my experience.
Awesome. That's what it's about. Thanks a lot for doing that. Somebody else wanted to say something? I heard another voice. Dave, no, wavelet will compress your time series. Okay. Anybody else got any success stories? This is what the whole point about this webinar is about, using machine learning. LQ says it doesn't have to go on forever.
Actually, I do want to throw in a little bit what works. My background is I write algos for traders.
Okay.
And I know I'm going to get ripped to shreds on this one, but
No, you won't.
No. I work with quants, and I do quant work myself. And the issue I have is one tries to predict. One cannot predict the market. It's impossible. And the most successful traders that I've ever dealt with, that's where I learned about trading, is they don't try to second guess the market. They have very, very simple models. And there, with these simple models, you can actually put the machine learning on. But you gotta stick to the simplicity. And you gotta stick to the nuances and the idiosyncrasies of the simplicity.
Is there any examples you can specify when you say simple? Are we talking technical trading simple?
Okay, yeah, actually, I'll give you a really simple example. Please excuse me if I'm sitting there. Have you noticed how people sit there and do volume analysis on stocks, and they want to sit there and find a magic number in volume analysis?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, volume analysis doesn't work worth a damn. And let me explain to you why. When you look at the sum of the market is equal to what's on the public, what's in the dark pool, and what is on the OTC desk. And then on the OTC desk, there's a lot of derivatives. So now let's say you're going to sit there and do volume analysis. The only volume that you actually know of is the public volume. You do not know the OTC volume. You do not know the dark pool volume. So if you're doing volume analysis, how can you actually sit there and do proper analysis? Because on the one, they might be selling, and the other one, they might be buying. And I thought that was really peculiar. And a trader, I talked to the trader, and I said, wait a minute, you're sitting there and telling me that I can't do this. And he goes, yeah, absolutely. But there is one thing that you can do. And what you can determine on is price action. Because what happens is if you're in the dark pool and there's a price, so let's say there's a discrepancy between what's on the public and what's on the dark and which is on the OTC, well then someone's going to come in and arbitrage it, right? And this is what I'm sort of getting at. This is simplicity. Think about it through, step it through, and you see the simplicity. That's what I'm sort of trying to get at. So if you can sit there and say, okay, well, look, I have a bit of an inkling of what these three markets are doing, well, then maybe you can take a look at what the price action is doing. That's what I'm sort of getting at.
Stephen came back with the arb may leave tracks.
Am I still alive, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that's a really good point, and I completely agree with that. I think that also there are certain things that exist in the market which have to exist. And I mean, before you start off, I mean, you should sort of, if you think of machine learning as having a nuclear bomb, your algorithm should work without it at a very, very basic level, without even applying machine learning first.
Go ahead.
It should. I don't think that this applies to all things, but there should be a very basic concept for why it works first, and the ML basically comes in as optimization on top of that afterwards. You might have an algorithm that does pretty damn good, but it has huge drawdowns. So, your goal for your ML algorithm might be how do you remove those drawdowns? You might get rid of half of them. And then all of a sudden your OK algorithm becomes pretty damn good. But unless you have that basic premise and that the first basic goal that this is something that's inherently part of that regime of the market, then you're kind of, you're swimming in deep water.
Because what you just say, you got Christian and LQ agreeing with what you just said.
There's probably a reason for this.
Yeah, I hear it. It's loud and clear. Anybody else have any opinions on that? Like I said, I'm looking for successful stories, anyone using machine learning on a consistent basis that's profitable. I'm not looking for your details of it, but just to help us out as a group and what we can do to improve that from our own research. Anybody else got any successes or any other tips they could provide? We got lots of typing going on here. LQ and ML only works if you have access to dark pool data or if you can infer dark pool data. So there's no way you can get public info on dark pools at all?
Sorry, please don't mistake me to saying that this can only work. What was being asked is, what is a simple algorithm? What is a simple model? What I wanted to explain to you is how volume analysis is pretty ludicrous, whereas price action is not, because it's consistent across the three pools. That's what I was sort of getting at.
Gotcha. I agree on the simplification on everything, no matter if it's machine learning or just quant versus technical analysis versus fundamental analysis. I think LQ just said...
Yeah, but what I found is even the simple stuff is pretty complicated when you try to be consistent with your returns. So
yeah. So Patrick says, well, I'm at the spot that I have an algorithm that profits, but ML to make me avoid drawdowns. Must really read the market news data to determine regime, upcoming high volatility, which will make drawdowns. LQ said, doing a dumb back test, get the results and apply the decision tree on the results. So what you are trying to find is when your highest chance to lose, not optimizing parameters. The God has spoken. Whatever you trade needs to find the key and relevant data that gives some edge. These are very good tips, I might add. Thanks a lot for contributing these. Anybody else got any ideas? I'm gonna try to remember to save the chat here. This is really important to make sure I capture
if
this.
the back test is so dumb that it's horrible, then you're going to change your model. You're going to change what you're doing. So then you just have to increase the size of your sample space once you go above a number of trials, so that you don't overfit.
Yeah. Well, I think LQ kind of addressed that right now with also in this way you are avoiding the parameters recalibration. Also, in this way, you are avoiding... Oh, just stated that. Anybody else got any tips here that we haven't talked about? It sounds like to me that you're using more machine learning as a risk management tool. Is that a fair statement? Instead of just relying on it wholeheartedly as a strategy. Christian says no. Would be a good use, though. Okay.
I think it is a good risk management tool, but I don't think that that's necessarily true, because the truth is that all systems are different, and each system might have a different goal. And one of the benefits of machine learning is that you can very concisely define what your fitness function is or what your objective for your algorithm is. Okay. And machine learning can help you find out what the best solution is for your specific objective.
Go ahead.
I mean, that could be very different for anybody. I mean, some people might have high risk tolerances, some might have less. Low drawdowns might be very important to someone. High returns, someone might want something that has good win rate, minimal amount of trades. You might even want something that reduces the number of transactions that you're doing.
So let me ask you about your environment. How many algorithms do you have in, like, call it waiting in the wings for whatever conditions in the markets? How many algorithms do you currently use? And also, what are you primarily trading right now? What kind of assets?
I don't even want to give that away.
Okay. But are we talking dozens and dozens, or are we talking like 5 or 10?
We're talking like 5 or 10.
Okay, so a small amount. Okay. All right. Anybody else got any tips or comments on that? Yeah, we haven't even talked about news impact, sentiment analysis. Anybody using machine analysis or machine learning with sentiment analysis or news reading, as Patrick says here, for news trading or avoiding? Anybody use machine learning for that sort of thing, like reading a feed or something? Anybody? Is that doable? Yes. Market depth mic, Twitter readings. Patrick, are you able to speak? Because I've seen some systems that do that, but do you find that they definitely are consistent?
I doubt whether systems actually read news to trade. I think the only really good use of reading news from a machine learning perspective is to know when to turn your algorithm off.
Right.
I don't know how you could trade off that. It seems very complicated.
Because LQ says news reading is only good if you are using a fast news provider. They do read news to trade.
Old news is worthless.
No, I agree with that. I agree.
No, actually, I would agree with LQ. You really need a really fast news readers, because I know some of the people that I was with today, they like to use the Bloomberg feeds, but you really need a really, really fast one.
Any recommendations out there? Because LQ's saying professional ones, otherwise they lag. Bloomberg
I believe
feeds.
there's a Raven Pack, but it's like ridiculously expensive.
Okay. E-Signal. What about anyone using IQ feed? E-Signal's slow. Raven Pack, one of the cheapest ones. Okay. That's good enough. Anybody?
I thought Raven Pack's historical database was like $30,000 or something when I called.
Who knows?
Actually, I would like to add one comment right now about machine learning and algo trading. And I think actually LQ hinted at it. He sort of said that Bloomberg is slow. Actually, he is right. I think one thing that has to be really, really clearly said to the group is, look, unless you happen to be an investment bank or a really big a big hedge fund, you ain't gonna have the money for doing this type of high-speed trading with M. If you're going to sit there and do a machine learning algorithm, make it on 10-second increments that it can trade. Anything lower than that, you're going to go against the big boys and you're going to lose.
Yeah, and here's some costs for it. $10K a month, Bloomberg, Reuters, machine readable feeds different from the terminals. $30K a month. Ouch. Thanks for the tip there. And I'm just going through all these. Behavior on news is so different from normal that it's best to handle with specialized strategy. Both at once might be confusing. Machine learning. Somebody actually mentioned Reddit. I don't think that would be a reliable news source for sure. That's from my point of view. Anybody else think of any other types of ways to? LQ just came back. Just good historical equity info from EDIT. EDIIT would cost you more than $80K. Wow. Yeah, that's not cheap. Anybody using any other type of data at all? Mike says it's an IQ feed with 1 minute delay. Good to know. Let's talk about processing power in terms of parallelism. For machine learning, what kind of boards are we talking? Anyone using a Tesla or a CUDA or any of the other GPU type of boards out there? how are people able to handle the computing power on the hardware front? If anybody wants to chime in on with any ideas or tips for the group. Anybody? Internal memory, quad-core Linux boxes here. Okay, thanks, Christian. Dave sent me your email. I'll get back to you because I'm having trouble to follow with everything. Yep. Anybody else? Any suggestion on what kind of hardware you guys are using? Quad-core? That's Jeff. Anybody using multiple systems at all? Using some kind of distributed computing? Christian says yes, yes.
I don't know if that many exist because I think they're really hard to do.
Okay.
But I think that's gonna change because I think that there's some interesting frameworks coming out. There's ACA and there's Orleans, which are both on .NET, and it hasn't happened yet. But I have a feeling that either of these platforms are going to be able to assist. With doing some form of distributed computing with machine learning.
So you call it Leans with .NET?
Orleans,
Oh.
like New Orleans.
Okay. That's an open source solution?
No, that's a Microsoft Azure solution.
Oh, I see. Okay, good to know. I'll put that. Thanks a lot for these tips. This is amazing. Use GPU speed needed for calculation threads. Thanks, Daniel. Other messaging platforms are slower. Are you using sort of work? I use things like Redis for distributed. Yeah, I've used Redis. Xbox is suggested for the computing power. I've heard that too. Same with PlayStation as well. Anybody else? Anybody using any other kind of libraries at all for horsepower? Processing speed? Anybody at all? Okay. Okay, we're coming up to just over an hour. Is there any other topics, being the newbie here, that I have not covered yet? Anybody want to talk about anything regarding machine learning? Any tips, contributions people might think might be beneficial for all of us? Anybody? Especially coming to learn. So after the fact, it looks like the group still probably, majority thinks it's still viable. Steve says, I'm using different computers with different software, so I must pre-calculate long data series and feed the results to another machine to integrate them. I think we need to talk, Steve. Okay, we just got an email here. Anybody else want to cover any topics? LQ says, CUDA for the heavy stuff as far as you can parallelize them, okay? For sure, with the Tesla boards and all that. Anybody else? Any other topics you want to talk about at all for tonight? FlowTrader? Yes, I've heard about FlowTrader. Oh no, I'm thinking of FastFlow. Anybody familiar with FastFlow? Here, let me put that one. That's another open source library for parallelism. Yeah, here. FastFlow. Anybody ever use this at all? I'll put that in. It's a C++ one. Any other topics that we have not covered? I kept it loosey-goosey here with very little structure for tonight. If you want, we can continue it. Otherwise, we can shut down the evening. Anybody?
I think an important one, I'm just throwing it out there, is how do you avoid curve fitting? I'm sure that everyone has a different opinion of that.
Anybody want to chime in there? Curve fitting.
Yeah, don't test your system backtesting or optimizing. Just do it once and then just check the best one and then run it live and see if it works.
Yeah, but what do you do if it doesn't work?
What happens if it starts dying the day, like, say you do that and then you test on your back and then you do a Monte Carlo simulation, so you have a general idea of what your drawdown is.
Back up, turn it off.
LQ just chimed in. Try to optimize the direction, not the RMSE. Does that help you out?
Hey, Chip and Sam Fran, what I do with my system is I probably just optimize back shorter and walk it forward longer, right? And I'm not really interested in the back testing results. I'm really interested in the walk forward results only. And then I don't always pick the most profitable, right? I look across all the different variables, you know, and we pick that one and plug it in, and off we go trading for the day.
So, like, for example, when you walk forward, do you walk forward in the future and in the past?
No, I back test, say, over, you know, say 30 periods, right? I might only back test over, say, 10 of those, right? But I walk forward over 20 of them. Right?
Right.
So more forward than back testing.
But you could also have the problem where, say you test on 2010 and it works in 2011, but then you test on 2008, then what?
Well, I use tick data. So I just really use tick data. I don't use long data.
Okay, so for your time horizon, then you feel like that's not applicable because the underlying microstructure between, say, now and 2008 is kind of the same.
Yeah. Well, what I do is I'm constantly doing it. I look at it every single week, right? So I'm more in that shorter time bucket, not in the longer term bucket.
Got it.
Anybody else? Steve said there's a lot of areas we could cover, but it's too many, take many years. But he also said to validate, I like to use interleave, set a sequential model, optimize, select, and test. We've got so many conversations here, I'm losing track of it. Any other topics we have not covered at all? We're just over an hour and 10 minutes. Usually I like to learn stuff here, and that's definitely meeting that goal. I hear typing. I'm not sure if it's for us or not. Anybody else want to chime in here? I wasn't sure how long this meetup would last tonight. We've had ones that last up to 3-4 hours. Yeah, there's a lot of conversation. Throwing my curveball into the discussion. I don't back test forward. I use statistics and probability. That's from Christian. I'm sure a lot of people are using that exactly. Anybody else using statistics and probability as their principles for machine learning or versus algebra? Anybody? I guess not.
I don't know anyone who trades without using statistics and probability. Come on.
No, I know that. I'm just. LQ says he uses stress testing and statistical ML. Any other topics here? How many are using more simplistic math versus the complicated quantity stuff? Christian meant statistical reasoning. There's so many topics you could cover with machine learning here. This is not the average stuff. Appreciate the input, Christian. Appreciate the input from everybody. Do you imply graph-based models from LQ? That's for Christian, coming from Mr. LQ. What would you say to that, Christian? How many are actually using graphs as part of their basic software architecting? Jeff says yes. Anybody else using graphs as part of your architecture and your solution? Steve says yes.
I think they're useful for visualizing your data, but again, that comes down to what you're trying to see. If you're trying to explore, say you were trying to do pairs or something, and you wanted to see relationships between correlation or co-integration or mutual information, I mean, you could use graphs as a tool to sort of browse that information, right?
Okay. And can you dynamically generate that graph, would you say?
Well, there's libraries out there that can allow you to do that.
Okay.
I mean, it depends on what you're trying to see, right?
Right.
So
I know LQ will say using any kind of library is going to bring up a speed issue. He likes to do all his old hand coding stuff.
well, it also depends too, right? I mean, if you're looking at ticks and you're looking at order book data, then speed might mean everything. But if you realize that you can't necessarily compete in that space, and you're using minute bars or 5-minute bars or hourly bars, then speed isn't everything. Sometimes it's, under learning and doing your exploratory analysis that trumps your speed.
Yeah. Well, Jeff says speed is important. Steve says just looking at the account equity in relation to the chart and the actions. I think that's not part of our topic here. Anybody else got any questions or comments for tonight? Humans are good at seeing patterns, so good visual representation graph can be good input to human brain as biomachine learner. How many finding this discussion helpful for themselves tonight? Just as a just as a poll. Just give me a yes if it's useful for you guys. If you guys are learning stuff. Jeff says yes. Jeff says yes. Yes, completely agree, Steve. Daniel says yes. Thank you for all the yeses. Very useful. Thanks, Stephen. My wife gets bored on this stuff. Stephen. Too much info. I agree, Patrick. It does overwhelm you. We got a topic on OpenCI next week. Actually, a lot of that has been inspired, to be honest, from LQ because I know I'm getting into a lot of the Windows stuff, the back end. OpenCL, excuse me. Sorry, LQ, yeah, you're right. But he's inspired me to look at various things. So OpenCL is one of the topics that came up with one of the other people in my community. So I asked him to do a presentation on that. And the following week we got, I think December 2nd, we got Phil Chalford. He's out of London. Who is an expert in F#. So he's going to do a demo and talk about F#. And LQ says OpenCL is nice, but they're lacking some important features still. If you want to chime in there, LQ, you got my email. Okay. So that's what's going on next week. Anybody else want to inline assembly? Anybody else want to chime in for tonight on machine learning? For me, machine learning is going to be definitely put on the back burner. I probably want to investigate for at least another year, probably 2 years to be in fact, because as Patrick says, so much stuff. Let me ask you, Mr. LQ, is there anything you want to address? Because you're really knowledgeable in this area. A lot of people look up to you, including me and a few others that are online here. Anybody? I guess not. Quite heavily, to be honest. This LQ hat tip. So everyone who finds LQ useful, why don't you give him a big thanks for being online and for contributing to our community. Just give him a thanks, just to give him an acknowledgement on a lot of his efforts and what he's provided, not only myself, but just show your gratitude to him. Yeah, thanks LQ. There you go. A lot of people, you can just see how fast that is. A lot of people are learning stuff from you, LQ, just so you know that. Ed Wall, Daniel, Patrick, Dave too. Yeah, there's a lot of people in my community that look up to you. You're welcome. Give it a nice community with cool discussions. Thanks, Mr. LQ. Book is great, LQ, after still reading it. There you go. A lot of people value what you're providing. Anybody else got any comments about machine learning at all? I'm really pretty well brain dead when it comes to machine learning. I'm always wanting to learn that stuff. There's just so much on the go already. I'm a one-man show, as they say. Anybody else got any comments? An hour and a quarter here. Love the Neurov book, no doubt. We'll use Erlang. Give me a second. Try and TP find a book that most people would like. Thank you, LQ. He's got some great resources there. So just give him a little bit. He'll provide us another book here to read. First, you need a system and a viewpoint to see the ML to answer. I agree with that, Stephen. That's the hard part, is to find that answer with ML. We already talked about how it can be more risk than reward, it sounds like, for a lot of people. Just sit here and wait for LQ with his enormous set of tips here. Anybody else got any ideas on machine learning? We could talk all night about these topics for sure. Should split out the PBO as well. Shalom, if I'm not sure what you're meaning PBO.
Backtest overfitting.
Oh, okay, that's another topic. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Machine learning should split. Okay. Okay, just because we are discussing on wavelengths, try to check out this book for anyone that wants to learn wavelengths the right way. Ripples in Mathematics by Jensen. Everybody got that? Ripples in, let me just pull that up. I'll pull that up on our Google here. Ripples in Math, that's on Amazon. Yeah, thanks LQ as usual. You can talk to this guy, you'll be easily overwhelmed. I was trying to find a pass to Shalom the other day. So there you go, Shalom. That was the book, I guess. The question is it for beginners? All LQ says, yeah, it's for beginners. Anybody other got any tips for machine learning for us newbies and wannabes, as I call myself? Trying to make it as beneficial for everybody. Any other juicy tips you could provide, LQ? Even Shalom. Jeff, it sounds like you got some.
Provide a tip for LQ. Is that
Manage.
what you just said, Brian, or is it getting late?
No, I'm not trying to be insulting here. So Steven says, manage risk first, profits second. Oh, dude, you made my day when you say that. Not profits, not your number one goal. It's retaining capital. I just had arguments with that over somebody last. So LQ says, just start the book from scratch and you should be able to get through everything. The book also includes code, by the way. Oh, we like code. Oh, I see my code. Oh, maybe he's trying to butter, with MATLAB. There you go. Code in. I just answered that. MATLAB. Hope and Erling. LOL. Ha ha ha. Any other tips or anything from anybody? Mr. LQ. Want to do another round of thanks? We can get another tip from him.
Oh, you're pushing it, Brian. You really know, aren't you?
I'm always, yeah, ha ha ha.
Is anyone saving all this chat stuff? I'm trying to save everything I can.
No. What I'll do is I'll make sure. Just remind me before. Okay, we're gonna stop. And you guys can watch me, and I'll pull up the editor to show you that it's being captured. Okay, there's a lot of good stuff here. LQ says it's nice.
It would be a shame if you lost all this, Brian.
No, I know that. I'd be shooting myself. Just remind me, okay? Erling is nice if you ever want to take the system down. It's hot swappable. Point taken on the robustness, for sure. Thanks, LQ. Anybody else got? What would you say the best language is right now for ML, for machine learning? Still Python? C++?
Whatever you're most comfortable with.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. We always get the tech wars going on. Yep, there you go, Dave. Anybody else got any comments? Hour and a quarter still. I got hour and 18. So in Java enough? I'm not sure on that. Anybody got any other comments or questions? Fault survival is important in automation. Yeah, I agree with that. From Daniel. Whatever language the person teaching you something speaks. Whatever language the person teaching you something speaks. Okay. Thanks, Steve. Hour and a quarter. What I can do is I can start copying this, capture all this stuff. Let me just do that here. Oh boy, this is a lot. Yeah, here we go. I got it. Now, I'm going to prove to you guys that I have it. Okay, here's my editor. So there you go. I'm going to save it too. I'll call it machine learning. Okay. Okay, there we go. So there we go. Everything's been saved. Cool? Been saved by the bell. Anybody else got any questions before we may close down? Because I think I've got everything captured here. So you apply different wavelengths on 20 levels of the book LQ from Mike. Looks like we got Q&A with LQ right now. Mr. London Quant. Anybody? LQ can type. I can hear something typing. Anybody else got any comments or questions about machine learning? No mic.
Does anyone here know options well?
Shalom, I think, kind of does. No?
Yeah, but I specialize only in certain type of options, so it would depend on what the underlying is, because they can trade differently. So I know options pretty well, but there's other people here that might know it even better than I do.
LQ was asking what was the question regarding options.
One?
Go ahead.
I mean, it's a. I don't want to take us in a different direction, but I don't know if you want to email me, and then we can discuss it further, because I kind of feel like I have some ideas where ML could be applicable to that, and I'd be willing to work or share ideas with someone but one of the requirements is I guess that the person knows options, because there's some parts that are kind of important, and I sort of need that gap to be filled. And I feel like someone who knows options combined with my knowledge might work well. So,
well, I'll
putting that out.
We have on Meetup, we have the boards on every group I run. I just put the URL in there. If anyone wants to open up a discussion about that, you can communicate among yourselves. I think you can message each other and all that too, so you can keep it private if you want.
Okay.
Some other questions came up. Okay, so we got a question from Mike. I'm not sure if that has been addressed. So just a topic, single wavelength on the mid price of the top of the book, narrow band trading on credit spreads for a couple of years. I'm not sure what these are referring to. There are option charts that show all different configuration condor spreads, which may give you ideas of non-option trading. During my work on options was on market making and delta 1. That's from LQ. LQ also says 2 wavelets on bid and ask for Mike. Okay. Anybody else got any questions at all? Okay, there's some discussion still going on with Jeff saying bye to everybody. Thanks for coming out, Jeff. Thanks for your contribution. I'll be in touch.
That's the one. Bye.
Thanks a lot, man. Have a good night. I'm just starting to learn about credit spreads. Someone wants to help me them with the software. Jeff was your man for that. LQ, that comes down to what you want to know out of it. Okay, again with Mike. Steve, Jeff knows a lot about fixed income. So I'm not sure if credit spreads will help you out there. Ash asks, Christian, thanks. Anybody else got any questions? How large are your positions? I guess it's between Mike and LQ. Anybody got any questions for the group? For me, comments, criticisms? Everyone's smiling here tonight. That's good.
A lot of good information, Brian. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. I got a good chunk. I'll make sure I get this captured again. Yeah, there. Okay. Anybody else got any comments or questions? We're up to almost an hour and a half here. About machine learning. Daniel says good night. Thanks, Bri, LQ and all. No problem. Anybody else? Let me ask you, for the group, we got almost 20 people here. Give me a set of topics that you guys want to learn about in the coming weeks. Just type them up in the chat line. I'm going to try to find out people. I can probably... I'd like to learn about how to simulate implied volatility on spikes and underlying. Okay, that's from Dave. Okay, anybody else got any topics? Modeling binary options. Okay. Anybody else? What else you guys want to learn? Wavelets compress input data. News. Genetic programming. We got data mining for new. Okay, anybody else? Genetic programming. Getting the idea? Data cleaning. Ha ha ha. Data cleaning would be use a Mac. There you go, Sean. I'm trying to butter you up, man. Anybody else? What other topics want to be covered? Systems. What is the edge? That's pretty broad, but I know what you mean. I think machine learning is supposed to be an edge. Any other topics at all? I hear keyboards. That means people are typing. Data cleaning. Data cleaning. Graph models. I'm assuming graph models from a software perspective, not charting.
Right.
I think the edge comes before you add in ML. Yes, for sure, Steven. Anybody else? Good one, Shalom. There you go. Big joke around here, eh? Anybody else got any ideas for show for topics? I guess that's it. Any comments, questions, or anything for the group at all? We already talked about. I think there was one last question we never covered that somebody asked about news. We already covered that earlier, so just listen to that playback. That was from Jeff 9. Control theory. That's an interesting one. That's good for Simulink. I know that. Yeah, LQ says nice. Not going to say any more about game theory. Interesting. Anybody? Control theory, robotics. Yeah, LQ studied that, I think. Info theory, S domain, I think. Anything else at all? I'll make sure I get this all captured again. Comments, questions, Bode plots, NYSE. Wow, this is stuff I've never seen and heard before. Of course, it's coming from LQ. Anybody? Any game theory again? Yeah, we got that. So much stuff to study. It's crazy. Okay, we're coming up to an hour and a half. Anybody got any comments, questions? Anybody at all? So for next week, who's got interest in this OpenCL? Anybody? I'm not sure if we got a small turnout so far for like 5 people or something. Anyone in the group?
I think a lot of people just don't know what it is.
Yeah,
maybe
that's right.
if we worded it a little bit differently to explain, in the subject heading, what it was.
Yeah.
People are probably going, OpenCL, what's that? Right?
Yeah. That's a good one. Good one. Thanks for the idea.
You gotta advertise it a little bit better.
Yeah, you should be my assistant, Shalom.
I thought I already was.
Yeah, we'll work on it. OpenCL is equivalent to OpenCUDA. I'm not sure if we're talking the same topic here. I thought it was OpenCI. Hang on here. Yeah, OpenCL. Dope. Anybody got any other questions, comments before we... ML's driven risk management. I kind of agree with that after tonight. Anybody else got any questions or comments? It's like the comparing OpenCL to DirectX. Yes, I agree, Mr. LQ. Anybody else? Questions, comments? To me, to the group, trading, life, the world. LQ saying it's open source and the other one is more closed. That's DirectX. That is what OpenCL is.
CL.
Go ahead. Nope. Okay. If there's no more, let me just capture this. We'll wrap her up. Is there any more comments before I close her down? I want you guys to watch. I'm going to get the latest trail here in the chat. Anybody else? Okay, so you guys are going to play witness to me capturing all of this. Here we go.
I'm doing my part to try to capture everything.
Okay. Okay, so,
Between the two of us. Hopefully.
yeah, hopefully. We had a discussion about us schmucks.
I think this is the most cat stuff we've ever had.
Catch?
Chat.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, it's a huge topic. Oh, here we go. We got more compound interest. Jeez. Okay, you know what? Let's officially.
Compound interest is the real power behind everything.
What's that?
Compound interest is the real power behind all of your systems.
Okay.
Like what you grow, and then you grow on that, and you grow on that. That's the underlying power.
Good to know. I'll make sure I'll get that captured here. Hang on. Okay, I got it.
Compounded profits in the case of a trading system.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. Things you learn. Okay, why don't we give it a wrap for tonight? Very good topics tonight. And if you have an algorithm that sucks, the power to lose as well. LOL. Compounding works up to level though. That's from LQ. Here we go. We're gonna have a topic about compounding interest based on how scalable your strategy is. This guy is like a wealth of knowledge, Mr. LQ.
Yeah, sometime you push the market around, so instead of just trading it.
LQ due to liquidity issues. Here we go. We've now officially started a new topic here. Compounded interest.
Maybe that should be another power, measuring market liquidity. Did we ever do that one?
No.
Put it on your
Technical
list.
analysis of stocks and commodities, the magazine, they have that every once in a while. Output of.
Is that magazine still going?
I think so.
I haven't seen it here in Canada.
It's shameful, but it's still in print. Pretty shameful, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get it much anymore.
Yep. Yeah. Seen enough idiots trading 50% of VWAP on the day on equities. Anybody else? So we got everything. I've captured. Have you got everything captured, Shalom?
Probably not everything, but probably I think I have like 99.99% of this stuff.
Okay. Steve's been asking for more tips. There's lots of places to go for tips. The right tips versus the wrong tips. Anybody else? We could go all night. I don't mind doing it. It's not a problem at my end. Anybody? Before I close her out. Okay, why don't we do it? I'll give you guys, good place to start learning genetic programming. Here are good tips from Steve. I don't know if he's going to put out good tips. As I said, Ryan, there's that algorithmic trading MATLAB demo. If you're into MATLAB, already put that in the chat. Jeff says, TA stocks, commodities. Magazine was my first exposure to FX. How to market a winning system. I think that's a book. Oh, a winning system. Is that a book, Stephen? Or is that what you're asking?
Is it a book or a question?
That's a question, because that's what we all want. Once we get there, then what? Good one. That's okay. Jesus, essentials of meta-heuristics. Yeah, I'm going to try to capture all of this so far. Wow. You guys are typing a lot tonight. Okay, you know what? All right, so let's give her a wrap for tonight, because I think we could go on and on. We got next Monday as well. Essentials of meta-heuristics. Stephen, get it audit, and then it's not a problem to find investors. There you go, from LQ, he's right on that. Anybody else got any comments or questions? I shouldn't be saying these things. Okay, you know what? I think I'm ready to close her up if that's okay with you guys. Most tips on net are teasers for hucksters, and here are tips from colleagues. Yes, I guess we could be considered colleagues in this group. Thanks, old Steve. You've been a long time supporter. I appreciate that, honestly. We got a couple people it's coming up next month, 4 years actually, for the quantlabs.net. Can you still have a grain of something valuable? Oh yeah, for sure, Steven.
What does that mean?
I think I know what he means. I'm just in the huckster.
Trying to think if I ever found any good tips on the internet.
Oh, there's lots of good tips. Come on, Shalom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you know what?
I found one really valuable thing on
Quantlabs.net?
No, it wasn't your website.
No, actually, LQ, if you guys want to learn, LQ has been the absolute, I don't even know where to start on that. He knows how I feel about it. He's like a god, Mr. LQ. Okay, anybody else got any comments or questions at all? Okay, Brian, more ales for you. No, I owe you more ales than you know. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, ha ha ha. Anybody at all? Comments, questions, critiques? We're down at half of what we were at. I guess not. Okay, so let's give her a wrap. Here, you can watch me stop the recording. So thanks again for coming out. Oh, by the way, for Astrodata, F's Vermeer from JPL, still have an old 4chan program split on CSV files over Telnet. Ouch! That's 1960s. We're grasping for straws again. Thank you for having this discussion, Stephen. You're more than welcome. Come out anytime. We are doing it early each week, like for the last couple of weeks. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording. We've got everything captured. And you know where to reach me at quantlabs.net. Okay, so we got our next meetup here. Where is it? The OpenCL discussion online. If you're local, we have a social din coming up. All right, thank you very much for coming out. I'm going to stop the recording now, okay?